there was a movie I think with Robert De Niro called This Boy's Life, and I forget who was it. The actress, and he comes in and marries the woman, and anyway, he's not really his son. And that, if you've ever seen that movie, that's what it was like. It even kind of looks the same because, I don't know. It just, there's that time period up north when the spring, when the winter is turning into spring and all that white stuff is melting and it looks terrible and nothing is in bloom yet. And it sort of gets warm during the day, but it gets cold real fast at night. And it's not pleasant. It doesn't feel good, and everything was, and I think the other thing, because all of our dads fought in World War II, and they never really talked about what they did. And I guess there's a lot of reasons for that. Probably the futility and the stupidity of it all, and there was real no heroism. But they wanted their kids, their boys especially, to have it tough because they had it tough. I remember we moved around a bit. I was born in Toronto, and I remember living in this sort of a walk-up apartment building with maybe 3 or 4 stories to it. And that I think we lived there till I was about 4, and then we moved to a town called, we lived in Richmond Hill, which was a suburb of Toronto for a little while, and then we moved to North Bay, which is north of Toronto, and that was cool. North Bay was a perfect place to grow up. Moved there when I turned 6 there, and I lived there until I was 10. And it was real, we had a great time as kids because we could go fishing in these streams, and in the winter we could ice skate. And although I didn't like the cold that much, I never did. But we played hockey and we did all this stuff, and everything was pretty cool there. Then we moved to Sudbury, which is like the moon. Okay, they actually tested stuff. NASA tested stuff up there to simulate the moon because they had so much mining of nickel and copper, and they had, at night, this was what everybody did, they had these huge buckets, metal buckets, and they had this hot, what they call slag, which was left over from the refining process, and they just poured these buckets, and it was like lava, and you could see it at night glowing, and it just took out the entire landscape. So there wasn't trees, there wasn't anything, and this stuff was, hard as volcanic rock. I really remember the Beatles' Rubber Soul album for some reason at that time. My friend across the street got it, and we just soaked it up. That was really big. And we didn't live there. I think we lived there a year or so. My dad died in 1966. So her younger brother, my Uncle Hank, lived in Ottawa. So needing some help with 3 boys, we moved to Ottawa, which was great. I mean, Ottawa's like the capital of Canada, so it's like Washington, D.C., but a very nice place. And my uncle owned a music store called the Blue Note on Bank Street in downtown Ottawa. And when I was 12 and 13, I would go and work there on Saturday afternoons and play all the guitars and play all this stuff and get out the songbooks and the Mel Bay easy guitar method and sort of teach myself how to play and, do all of that. My uncle wasn't very much help. He was a guitar teacher, but he taught me how to tune the guitar, which I'm still working on. I'm getting pretty good at it. And a couple other little things just to play in 4-finger position and to always stroke up and down. And that was it. And everything else I just picked out by ear.